Toprak Razgatlioglu scored his first MotoGP point at COTA. 15th place, top Yamaha, ahead of Quartararo, on a circuit where he arrived furious on Friday and lost the sprint to an engine failure on Saturday. And what makes that 1 point matter more than it looks starts with a single word he used after the sprint. This is not a story about an engine failure. It is a story about what was there before it, and what came back the very next day. He was not angry about the failure. He was almost bewildered by what had existed before it. The first part of the race was quite good, and I was actually surprised by how comfortable I felt on the bike. Surprised. That word has not appeared in his MotoGP vocabulary before. In Thailand, he finished outside the points. In Brazil, he admitted his motivation dropped after Saturday. At COTA on Friday, he was furious after the bike refused to stop at turn 12 in practice, front-locking on every attempt, his greatest superbike strength becoming the problem. I am always making a mistake in corners 11 and 12 because the bike is not stopping there. I am very angry on the bike. That was Friday, 3 days before the point. And then Saturday, in the sprint, same corner, same bike, 13th, ahead of Quartararo, climbing through the field. And the word he reached for was surprised, not angry, not frustrated, surprised by how comfortable he felt. 4 laps of that, then nothing. But this is where the story changes. Because most riders, after an engine failure cuts their best sprint of the season, come back on Sunday in damage control mode. Toprak came back and beat his teammate. Even on the laps that worked, the core problem was still there. He said it himself. Up until the technical issue, I was feeling positive and trying to catch the rider in front, but we are still losing quite a lot on the straights. Still losing on the straights. Still fighting the throttle. The Michelin does not reward what made him dominant. It punishes it. Every time the throttle opens at COTA, the tyre reminded him that the instincts he built over 10 years are the wrong instincts for this championship. He described it plainly before the weekend. The issue isn't so much the bike anymore. The real problem is adapting to the tyres, not the machine. And on Saturday, fighting all of that, he was 13th and climbing before the engine took it from him. Do you think the engine failure cost Razgatlioglu his clearest proof of progress so far? Or would the tyre problem have resurfaced in the second half anyway? Drop your answer in the comments. And then Sunday gave it back. He started 17th. The tyre was the same. The circuit was the same. The throttle problem was the same. Nothing had been fixed overnight. And he came through the field anyway, past Miller, past Rins, past Quartararo, to finish 15th. The leading Yamaha, 20 laps of managing everything he still cannot fully control on a circuit that had already taken his best sprint from him the day before. 1 point. But not just 1 point. This is where it starts. It took 20 laps, full race distance. Dry conditions, no mixed surface to level the field, no chaos to inflate his position. Just a complete Grand Prix managed from 17th on the circuit where he arrived furious on Friday and lost the sprint the day before. He crossed the line ahead of the 2021 MotoGP World Champion on identical machinery. His team director Gino Borsoi said it plainly. He continues to make positive and consistent steps forward. Being that close to the top 10 is a clear sign that the progress is real and ongoing. 1 point is not a result. 1 point after this weekend is a statement. The benchmark moved on Friday in practice, if only fractionally. It moved in the sprint before the failure. It moved again on Sunday over 20 laps when there was nothing left to hide behind. 3 sessions, 3 separate moments where the gap to Quartararo, the clearest measure of how far he still has to go, was smaller than it had been the session before. Friday fractionally better than anything before it. Sprint better than Friday. Sunday better than the sprint result that never finished. That is not coincidence. That is not attrition. That is a direction. And a direction, in an adaptation this difficult, is everything. All of this while he still describes the Michelin as a puzzle, while the throttle exit is still producing the gap, while the instincts he built over a decade are still fighting him through every acceleration zone, while everything about his MotoGP experience is still being constructed from scratch in real time, round by round, session by session. He said at the start of the season the goal was simply to learn. He did not say anything about points. He did not promise results. He promised patience. And at round 3, on a circuit where he was furious on Friday and failed on Saturday, he delivered the first evidence that the patience is working. Quietly, without drama, 1 position at a time from 17th, 1 point at a time from nothing. Because this, the first point, the discomfort, the engine cut, the Friday fury, the Sunday climb from 17th, this is what he looks like while still uncomfortable, while still surprised when the bike feels right, while still fighting instincts that won him 3 world championships and are now costing him tenths every time the throttle opens. The 3 titles were built on Pirelli, on a chassis philosophy that rewarded everything he is, on a decade of muscle memory that MotoGP is now asking him to overwrite in real time, in public, 1 session at a time. He came here knowing the adaptation would be painful and slow. Round 3, first point, and the version of him that earned it is still nowhere near the version that wins on this tyre. Does the first MotoGP point represent a genuine turning point in his adaptation? Or is 1 clean Sunday result too small a sample to draw any conclusions from? And with Pirelli coming in 2027, the tyre his instincts were built for, the tyre that made him 3 times a world champion in the first place, is the version of Toprak that finished 15th at COTA anywhere near what this rider actually becomes when the learning curve finally flattens out? Drop your answers in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe. There is a lot more of this coming, because Toprak Razgatlioglu scored 1 point at COTA, on a circuit that should not suit him, on a tyre he has not yet learned. After an engine failure cut the progress he had just started to feel in the sprint. After arriving furious on Friday, 1 point. 15th place, the leading Yamaha ahead of a former world champion, and it might be the most significant result of his 2026 season so far. Not because of what it is, but because of what it says about what is still to come when the learning curve finally flattens.